that soft skills was a two-parter. It's not, it's a three-parter. Bonus parts, who could have known? I could have known because I planned it, but let's not cast blame here. I'm Miss Matt Mullen, this is Maths Literacy. It's Unit 1, which is academic vocabulary, and this week is the third in a three-parter. Hello, bonjour, ciao, welcome, bienvenue, etc. The week before last, we were looking at communication, motivation, collaboration. Can't do very much without motivation, it gets you started. Very rare that you can work when you're not working with other people. So all of those were really important, and then last week we focused on resilience, mostly, as well as integrity and empathy. I'm going to be quizzing you always at the end. Now we're going to move on to week 3's words. So it's actually week 8. We've got 3 words this week, just like the previous 2 weeks, but 2 of them are really quite closely connected and they often get mixed up. People get mixed up. I don't know if the words get mixed up. People get mixed up between these 2 words, right? Use them interchangeably. They are different. I'm going to start with the one that you probably know the best, which is responsibility. So if you take responsibility for a person or a situation or a thing, you are accepting a level of control over that. So you're saying that, you're going to look after it. So the good aspect of being in control, of having that power, is that if everything goes really well, you're the one that everybody's going to congratulate. Ooh, it's great. We love congratulations. But on the other side of the coin, if everything goes wrong, that's on you because you took responsibility to look after that thing, situation, person, etc. I'll give you an example. When I'm in the classroom, I have responsibility for my class, right? So I don't take all the credit if they do really well, but I can feel proud of myself if they get all the work done while I'm in control of that situation, while I'm looking after them. So if they show motivation and dedication and all of that, and they're all showing integrity, then I can be like, yeah, it's my class, they did that. However, if my class starts setting fire to the classroom, swinging off lights, bringing a llama into the classroom, bringing a whole horde of llamas and setting them free in the corridors of the school, and then going outside to eat worms, that was my responsibility to make sure that they didn't do that. So, probably bad thing. It's going to reflect badly on me that they did that. It was my responsibility to look after them. I messed up on that situation. Now, it is good to take responsibility. You might be thinking, well, Miss McMullen, the llama thing's going to happen, so why even bother? But responsibility gives you a level of power and control in your life, right? Bottom level, right? Responsibility for your own life, your own decisions. If you don't have responsibility over your own life, then you haven't got power over your own life. And then as you develop and your skills develop, you might want to start taking more and more responsibility because that gives you more of an opportunity to make a change in the world. So you don't just sit there complaining about things. You can be like, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to become a politician and become the Prime Minister and change what I don't like in the country. That would be taking a lot of responsibility. There's a lot more that can go wrong, but also there's a lot more power. So those 2 things are connected. Now, responsibility brings us on to the next word, which is accountability. They've both got the abilities thing going on, so it is easy to get them mixed up. But while responsibility is that action of taking it in the present, this is my responsibility. Accountability is that point afterwards when all of the llamas loose in the corridor, it's chaos, and then the head teacher comes up to me and says, Miss McMullen, what's going on? Now, if I'm not my best self on that day, I might say, nothing to do with me. Don't know what's going on. I couldn't be expected to stop this. This is not my fault. Right, but we all know I didn't bring the llamas in, but I was in charge of the people who brought the llamas in. Should have been keeping an eye out for that. How did I miss that, right? It was my responsibility, but I am not holding myself accountable. So when you hold yourself accountable, you're saying, yep, that was my job. I understand. I messed up. right? So if you're willing to take responsibility when things go well, you've got to be willing to take responsibility when things go badly. You've got to hold yourself accountable. Be honest with the fact that you had some form of control and that it didn't work out, so you've got to take some of that. Now, if I had integrity and I was honest with myself, what I would do is I would say to the head teacher, that's on me, I should have kept an eye on them, I'm so sorry, I will learn from this and next time I won't do it, right? That is holding yourself accountable. Now, it is important that you actually mean it when you say that. Some people act like they're holding themselves accountable just to get out of it. That is no good. Do not do that. You won't improve as a person. So you might be sitting there thinking, but Miss McMullen, we don't look after classes. It's not up to us about the llamas, okay? It's got nothing to do with us. But you do have responsibility and you do have opportunities to hold yourself accountable. Examples. When you come to school every day, it is your responsibility to make sure that you have your equipment, that you arrive on time, that you are motivated and pay attention, and that you are your best self when you sit in the classroom. Every single time you have a difficult encounter, maybe somebody's mean to you, maybe somebody swears at you, maybe somebody's just a bit rude and cold, and you may think, well, that's got nothing to do with me, that's not my fault. But every decision that you make as a reaction to that, that's your responsibility. So you can't control what the people around you are doing, but you can always control what you are doing. So as soon as you decide to interact with that situation, as soon as you're like, well, I'm gonna swear at them back, or I'm gonna punch them in the nose, that's your decision, and that's your responsibility. And as soon as you make that decision, you're gonna have to hold yourself accountable for if you get into trouble about that. Same goes for like arguing with teachers, forgetting your pen, being disrespectful, not listening, being a bit rude, being a little bit lazy, swinging on your chair. Please don't swing on your chair. So annoying. And you could fall off and bang your head. I'm not saying that everybody's always going to be perfect, and that in situations in which you are responsible for something like your own behaviour, like bringing things to school, that you're always going to get it 100% right. Nobody expects that from people in responsibility. Nobody expects perfection. Some people might, but what people do expect is for you to realise the control that you have over your own life, the power that you have over the decisions that you make. And based on that, they expect you, when you make a mistake, when you do the wrong thing, when you see the consequences of your actions, to hold yourself accountable for that and say, yep, I see that now, shouldn't have punched them in the nose, definitely should have done that. Or, okay, so when you told me that we had an assessment on Friday, and I could have read over my notes, gone on Seneca, done flashcards with friends, talked to people about the topic, looked it up on the internet, researched it. I could have done any of those things, but instead I watched TV. We all do that at times in our life. It's not the end of the world if occasionally you do that, but you have to be able to say, look, I get that that's why I didn't do very well in that assessment. Whereas some people just straight away are like, oh, this always happens to me, the teacher must hate me, I always get the worst marks, everybody hates me, it's awful. The same if you're talking in class and, you get your name on the board or whatever, and then you're like, oh, it's not fair. But it is fair because you did the thing and you need to take responsibility for what you did, right? And then it's much easier for everybody to move on from it, because everyone talks sometimes when they're not supposed to. Everybody doesn't revise sometimes when they should have. We all make mistakes. But a really big mistake is not kind of realising what you've done there, not being able to learn from that mistake and move on. Because it's all about power in your own life, really. So if you always think that everything is the fault of things happening around you, and you don't accept any responsibility at all. And this isn't the case all the time, right? So sometimes you can study really hard, and sometimes this test is just super hard, and that's absolutely fine. You just need to keep studying. Sometimes, you lose your temper, and these things happen, and it's fine. But by and large, if you take responsibility for what you're doing, then people respect that and they respond well to that. And the situation doesn't escalate and get worse which I'm sure you've all seen it in classrooms, where somebody won't take responsibility for a tiny little thing and then it all ends up way out of control. For example, if you say something to a friend as a joke, right? They're your words, your responsibility. When you put them out into the world, they were yours, you did that. If that hurts their feelings, right? Don't get defensive. Don't be like, oh, what are you getting angry for? Oh, I didn't mean anything. Just acknowledge that you said a thing and that hurt them. You did not mean that, but that's what happened. So you just say, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't think that would hurt your feelings. I know now and I won't do that again. Argument over. Situation dealt with. No need for 6 months of drama, right? Taking responsibility, being accountable for yourself, that makes so much difference. And it's something that is necessary in all parts of your life, in your relationships, in jobs, in schooling, in hobbies. It's all good. Now, finally, our last abstract noun is to do with soft skills. It's one of the reasons why we need our soft skills, but it's not a soft skill in itself. Being able to deal with it is. And this is transition. Now, you will have already been through many transitions in your lives. Transition just means change. Change from one state to another. Now, you will have all gone from primary school to secondary school. That's a transition. And that's a pretty scary transition. Somewhere where there's so many people, you might all of a sudden be starting to have to get the bus to school instead of having family take you. You'll have all gone from school to remote learning, back to school. These are all big transitions. Some of you will have moved house. That's a big transition. Transition is just change. And change is hard. And change does not go away. Change is the one constant thing. It never changes. There's always change. And that's pretty scary sometimes, and it requires a lot of resilience, because sometimes we don't want things to change. Sometimes we want to stay at primary school with our friends or stay in the old house, but we can't, because that's how life works, and everybody keeps growing up and things keep changing. So being able to deal with transitions is so important. And those soft skills that we've talked about, they're all ways of dealing with transitions. So you've got to be motivated. You've got to understand that, you know, if this is going to work, you need to be involved. So you need to get going, get yourself enthusiastic for that. You're going to need integrity. You're going to need to stay true to yourself, even when the situation around is changing, and be honest. You're going to need to be resilient when it's hard, and just keep going. You might have to collaborate with people if this isn't your expertise. You're gonna have to communicate if you're finding it hard. You're gonna have to say to people, I'm finding this hard, can anybody help? And then you're gonna have to take responsibility for the fact that your actions are your actions. So as you go into new stages of life, you know, you're in charge of what you do. You may not be in charge of the change, but you're in charge of the way you react to the change. And of course, if it all goes wrong, just hold yourself accountable, learn from it, move on. It's all good. That's our 9 words. So 3 weeks, 9 words, all about soft skills. How do you get these skills? Where do they come from? Well, I would say getting hobbies. So if you, especially anything with team sports, because that gets your collaboration and your teamwork in, but you can usually develop these skills through taking up some kind of extracurricular. It doesn't have to be some kind of super expensive thing. You don't have to go skydiving. I don't even know if it's legal for most of you to go skydiving. I don't want to go skydiving. Taking part in football, right? You've got to collaborate with people. You've got to be motivated to get up all the time. You've got to be resilient when your team loses. You've got to show integrity and not dive. Seriously, don't dive. Oh, you've got to, you know, you might have to take responsibility for the team. You might have to take responsibility for arranging something to do with the team. You're gonna have to be accountable if that stuff goes wrong. But all of these skills will develop if you do any of these hobbies. As I say, group ones and teamwork gets all of your communication and collaboration in, but honestly, everything you do requires some communication and collaboration. If you collect stamps, you're going to have to speak to the people that you buy stamps from. So that's a collaboration, isn't it? And you're going to have to communicate with them. So lots of opportunities. Essentially, these are the things that are so important in all areas of life and that will help you so much in your subjects, but that you can build in other areas of life. Because when you are applying for jobs or applying for college placements, etc., all of those things that you will do in life, going out to find friends, looking for a date, etc. Yeah, it's great to have all of your qualifications, and they're so important, and especially for the jobs and the and the college and things. Probably not so much for the dates, but I don't know, maybe you just really like people who like well-educated people. But you are gonna need those qualifications, but also you need more. You need to be a well-rounded person that has all of these soft skills, that has all of these other experiences. So from as early as possible, just try and get loads of opportunities to develop those skills and to prove that you're developing those skills. And then you'll be good at everything. Just like literally everything. You'll be amazing. Like, this is surefire way to be amazing. So yeah, do it. And that brings us to the spellings bit. Lots of L's and T's and the responsibility and accountability. So let's give it a go. So first of all, boom, responsibility. Accountability, transition. Okay, they're on the board. Check them. I don't even know if I gave you time to write them. Did I speak too quickly? Maybe I spoke too quickly. I'll go slower the next time. Okay, so I'll take them off. Responsibility. Accountability. Transition. Okay, let's look at them. Was that any better? Check it. Check it. Keep checking. Okay, final time. Responsibility. Accountability. Transition. Okay, so now I want you to write 1, 2, 3, and I want you to write next to 1, responsibility, and I want you to give that a full definition, right? And then a dual code next to it. And then next to 2, I want you to write accountability and give a full definition of that and put a dual code next to it. And then I want you to write 3, transition, and then write a full definition of that next to it with the dual code of your choice. So a little symbol that reminds you of transition. And then I have got the definitions and the terms for the other 6 words that we've done. Now, I've got the numbers next to the words. You can just for these write the numbers and the letter that's the correct definition to save you time if you don't want to write them all out. But of course, you're also welcome to write them all out. That's cool too. So I'm going to leave you with that task, and I will see you next time for some different words that aren't soft skills, that are really like tough skills, skills that beat other skills up, really specific skills.
Thank you for joining us for another week on Macamore Literacy. If you enjoy starting with a word and then ending up on a rambling journey to who knows where, then I suggest that you hit like and subscribe. Also, if you just want to be a pal, like and subscribe. See you next week.